I'm very excited to welcome everyone today to our conversation, really trying to dive deep across a variety of conversations related to peace building and conflict prevention in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. I'm joined by a very impressive group of speakers who are going to discuss many different aspects, not only of peace building programming, but also conflict prevention, as well as the situation within the DRC. There are and is the possibility that some of our speakers will be speaking in French. We do have closed captioning on the bottom. So if you're not a French speaker, you're able to select English as your language and you'll be able to get the translations up. We also have the chat and chat functionality. So if you have chat or questions that come up, please feel free to send us a message. So today we're going to hear from 4 different speakers. The first is going to speak about crisis in the Great Lakes region of Africa. And I'm very excited to be joined by my colleague, who's going to discuss with us a little bit more about the history and the situation on the ground in terms of what's been going on in the Great Lakes region. So Kiangana Dialungana is from Peace Promise Consulting, and he'll be sharing with us first. Next, we'll be joined by one of our representatives from the USAID program working on the Leading the Way with Peace project. And that's going to be Jean-Pierre Mufumi. And then we'll be discussing a little bit deeper with one of my colleagues and his team, Eric Wamoanga, talking about a program related to collective trauma healing and peace building in South Kivu within DRC. And then finally, we'll hand it over to a colleague, Samuel Mudwara, from the Peace and Conflict Resolution or the PCR Foundation, who's going to be thinking not only about today, but also the future. What are new peace building architectures for today and the future when we think about the DRC? So I'm going to hand it over to Kiangana, who's going to kick us off. So welcome. Are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Please.
Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Just like Jessica articulated, I am Kiangana Dialungana. I'm a founder and the president of the Peace Promise Consulting, where we operate here in the United States and internationally. First of all, I want to thank the Alliance for Peace Building for creating a platform where the expert of peace and the change makers can come in and talk about what they're doing around the globe and trying to maintain a balance peacefully in our planet. So I'm really, really grateful to be invited and to be given a platform by Alliance for Peace Building here in Washington, D.C. Peace building, conflict prevention in the DRC, including in the Great Lake regions of Africa. You know, it would be a mistake or misleading for us to say that there's nothing's been happening in this region, because the fact that you are here, the fact that Alliance for Peace Building created this platform, this is a self-evidence that something is happening. This is almost like a form of a back channel diplomacy that you are doing in a daily basis. All of us are involved with. Crisis in the Great Lake region, it's broad. Oftentimes we focus, the international community, including us, but we have been focusing on a crisis such as minerals. The conflict between minerals have been, kind of hijacking our attentions for decades. We have been talking about rebels, the killings, the genocide, ethnic cleansing. These issues is so heavy in international community, and but they're taking all the attention and the resource and the money that could be helping the people. But the real crisis in the Great Lake region, including the Congo DRC, the real crisis, in our opinion, it is a climate change. Climate change is causing us so many problems that are affecting the everyday lives of the people. The real crisis, it is an increasing of displaced persons. People are leaving the homes, but they're leaving everything they know for safety. The crisis we are seeing in the Great Lake region, it is a lack of sustainable health care for the people. We have the children are dying by thousands, according to the UN. The children are dying from preventable diseases in the Great Lake regions of Africa. We are facing with the crisis of education inequality. Education inequality between men and the women. Women are not often invited in economic table. How can we talk about development or economic freedom when for almost half of the population the crisis?
Okay, sorry, I thought we lost you there for a second. Go ahead.
They are facing in the Great Lake regions of Africa, it's a lack of a strong and sustainable alliances between countries. We see ourselves as an opponent, but we see ourselves as an enemy. The crisis we are facing in the Great Lake region, it's in tribalism. The difference between the tribes. For some reason, when one person or individual from your tribe became a president, and all the resources, all the jobs, all the power belong to your tribe, they overlook the general population. In an international standpoint, to mitigate this conflict or this crisis we're facing in the Great Lake region, it's going to require us to work together. It's going to require the people and the peacemakers like yourselves to put a pressure to the donors, the international donors. I don't like using the term the Westerners because the people I know, especially in this country, they are not part of what's going on in the Congo or in the Great Lake region of Africa. They don't know what's going on. It is a multinational corporation, mainly the private entity, are the one donating the money to the places like Rwanda, the Congo DRC. In return, you have the Rwanda's government have been accused for supporting the M23 rebels that are terrorizing villages in the eastern part of the Congo. You have the Congolese government have been accused for supporting our alliance of the more democratic forces for the liberation, the rebel group. We need to put a pressure on the international donor, international community to stop sending the aids to the government that are supporting the terrorist group, the terrorist organization in the Great Lakes of Africa. When they put a pressure in African Union, because the result of a decades of a conflict is that people are being affected daily. People are being affected mentally. We have a physical abuse on the people of Great Lake of a region. Premature death, physical disabilities, learning disabilities, substance abuse, health problems such as heart attack, diabetes, chronic lung disease, and cancer, not to mention sexual abuse. Why we're focusing, why the international communities are focusing on the mineral, which doesn't assist the people, but the minerals, the idea is my country, the Congo DRC, is the richest country in the world as far as the minerals. So what the mineral is doing but to help the people of Congo or the people of the Great Lakes of Africa. People are living below the poverty line. We are losing thousands of children from preventable diseases. It is time to put a pressure on international communities to help us to mitigate these conflicts. People are dying from a stroke. People are fatigued. People become war fatigues. China is coming in to build a factory in the Congo, to build the roads throughout Africa. The problem that they're having is that the African people are not educated enough to take on the 21st century pressure of a manufacturer. So what China is doing, but they're bringing their own people. Why? Because the African people have been deprived from a sustainable education, because they're constantly fighting. They're constantly running away from their own home. They're constantly surviving. When you are constantly surviving, it is difficult to develop. African people have a war fatigue in the Great Lake region. Conflict is always going to be here. As long as we have what we have in our countries, conflict is always going to be here. Sudan is proving that. Sooner or later, we will have a mass migration in a region from Sudan. People are leaving their homes to become refugees because we cannot get along as a people. The real crisis in the Great Lake regions of Africa, it is the despair of a people. It is inequality. It is demonizing people because of who they are. It is killing the gays laws. The LGBTQ plus community don't have a place, don't have a home because of our hatred toward them, violating their natural right to exist. Those are the real crises Africa is facing today. Like I mentioned before, if we are serious about helping Africa or doing something that can bring a peace in the Great Lake regions of Africa, it is time to focus on people. For decades, we have to channeling our attention to the minerals, the conflict, and the men with the guns. Time after time, they are pushing us behind, and our life, our expectancy keep on plunging because there's no hope. People are suffering physically and mentally. It is time for us to put pressure on African Union. It is time to put pressure to the donors who are supporting the leaders who are giving legitimacy to the rebel group, to the terrorist organization. It is time to change the course of the African future by focusing on the people. So we are grateful for Alliance for Peacebuilding for creating a platform where we can have a peaceful discourse to discuss what's really happening around the world, especially in the African Great Lakes of a region of Africa. Our leaders are not talking about this conflict because they are involved in this conflict. It is helping the cause. It is privilege for me as a student of peace, but to live in a world where President Zelensky of Ukraine, it is privilege because what he did, he brought Ukraine war into our living rooms. He paraded, he campaigned against the Russian aggression. Our African leaders, especially in the Great Lake regions, they cannot do that because they are involved.
Excellent. Kiangana, thank you so much for setting the stage for us today and kind of getting us started to think about some of the really key points that you highlighted in relation to conflict in the Great Lake regions, thinking about crisis and climate change, the effect that has on people's daily lives and daily livelihoods, the focus on lack of sustainable healthcare, not just for some of those really big known things that we know, like whether it's AIDS or HIV, or thinking about Ebola, but really thinking about those everyday types of healthcare issues we have. How do we deal with tropical diseases? How do we deal with our general health and well-being? Also thinking about education inequality and how we bring men and women to the table, not just in education, but in government and engagement through inclusive processes. And I think that really sets us up well for our second speaker, who is going to speak a little bit more about direct programming. So Jean-Pierre Mufuni is joining us. I'm going to share a brief video on some of the work that he's been supporting and working on, and then I'll hand the mic over to him. Let me share screen here.
Mimi naitwa jina ya Eliza Mungela. Iko mbote 100%. Abejuku bangu sita bana mama balikupaka. Kajangu ni kulima. Usho. Tuko na mti ya kupanda, hakuna mizizi, hakuna nini, kutana mizizi yote, mameogo yote balisha ngola. Tuko munjala. Babalini chakula mama waliza apite pale. Na yeye ndiye asikie vya kuelezwa binabongo. Naendaka kusensibilize. Vile nafika pamoja pa nyumba. Naanza kumueleza bwana, hii vita ilipita hapa. Ulisikiaje? Nilisikia mwenzangu. Sasa wewe unawaza nini sasa? Mie hivi nakuya hapa. Nakuya na kasauti mwenzangu. Kama mimi nakuya. Hii tu Kenya vilipita. Ni vizuri, ni vibaya? Mwenzangu ni vibaya. Kumbe kama ni vibaya. Hii kitu hiki. Tuikale fasi moja tuache. Tusiongeze tena hii vita. Unaona inaharibisha miogo, manyumba, mashamba, inaharibika juu ya nini? Juu ya vita. Sasa buzuri wa vita buko wapi? Hakuna buzuri wa vita. Alitusaidia kia kwanza ni mizizi ya miogo. Kia pili akatuletea makuta. Kia tatu akatuletea mifugo. Na njoo ile inaleta amani. Juu tunalima fasi moja. Tunafuga fasi moja. Na njoo ile inaleta amani. Kushishi bote. Inasaidia usalama wetu na kuwa. Sasa ile yeye alifanya kuja na kushuka kukataza ile vita na tunashukuru. Njoo tunakuwa umoja, tunakuwa usalama.
Neat. Thank you so much. I'll hand over to our next speaker, Jean-Pierre. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Jean-Pierre Founi. I am the Peace and Stability Program Specialist at USAID here in DRC. As you have seen the video, this is one of the programs we are implementing here in DRC. First of all, I would like just to give you the context or the background of the program I manage, which we collect this, we made this video. The program is called TCMR, Tanganyika Conflict Mitigation and Reconciliation. In short, TCMR. Why TCMR? TCMR, we start this program in Tanganyika province because of the conflict which this province has experienced since December 2013 to 2017. And Tanganyika is one of the provinces in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which was created in 2015. Because initially the DRC has only 11 provinces. And in 2015, they create more provinces, and Tanganyika was one of the provinces which was created in 2013. As I said, since 2013, this province has been the scene of multiple deadly clashes between the IPs. IPs, indigenous people, also called Pygmies, and the Bantus. Why? Because the Pygmies or the indigenous people, they felt that they were just being considered as subhuman. They didn't have rights. There are some other reasons, other causes which push them just to clash with the Bantus. And in 2016, the conflict reached the worst period with almost more than 400 people killed, 400 villages destroyed, more than 900 IDPs, and more than 200 women who have been raped during that period. And the cohabitation between the two communities has never been easy between the Bantus and IPs. And this conflict has have an echo at USAID. We said, no, I think we cannot just leave this situation like that. And as a peace and security office here in USAID, we decide just to implement an activities with the partner PACT. Is a US-based organization which has been implemented this project just to foster the cohesion between the two communities, to promote peace between the two communities. Because as you may see, I said, this cohabitation between the two communities has not been easy. And also there is another fact, as you may know, indigenous people are more nomads. We call it in French nomad, who are moving from one place to place, just hunting and living around the forest and so on. While the Bantus are sedentarists. Sedentarists also means they can live at one place, which push the Bantus to consider the IPs, the indigenous people, as is not a subhuman. And that clash push the Bantu to consider to kill. They start killing each other. And what happened? We come up with the program called the Tanganyika Conflict Mitigation and Reconciliation, because you want just to reconcile the two communities. And this project was implemented by PACT, as I said. And this program is an a peace-building integrated activity. With agriculture, if you have seen in the video, there is cassava, there is other agricultural activity, there is a fishery activity, as you have seen, one of the lady carrying a basket of a small fish, and we have seen aside, there is the Lake Tanganyika, and other trauma healing activities and VSLA, village loan activities, just to help the community members just to deal with the daily living costs. And as you may see, we didn't only focus on peace building activity or social cohesion activities. We integrated other activities which can just help to promote peace, as I said, because the Twa, they have not been dealing with agricultural activities. Now, with this pact, now they can just cultivate, they can harvest agricultural product, they can just dealing with fish, trauma healing, and you could see the result that these two communities, they are now living together. And in the video, you could see Mama Mungela was giving a kind of testimony. This Mungela, the Mama Mungela, we've seen this video. She's a indigenous people, person or pygmy, but she's giving a testimony on the impact of the TCMR, the Tanganyika Conflict Mitigation and Reconciliation, what this activity has done not only in her life, but also in the life of other indigenous people and Bantus. Now, we can see with this activity that the two communities are coming together, doing the same activities, social activities together, agricultural activity together. And you can see that there is now harmony. Even now, when the other organizations, the community, the provincial government realize that this activity is at least having some result on the ground, with the end of the mandate of the MONUSCO, because the MONUSCO is departed from Tanganyika. Because as you may know, MONUSCO was one of the biggest peacekeeping missions in the DRC. They started just withdraw from some cities. And Tanganyika, they've seen that this activity, this TCMR, can take over the mandate of the MONUSCO. That's what happened. We had meetings with MONUSCO so that this TCMR will continue the activity of social cohesion and peace building, what the MONUSCO was just implementing these activities. And as I may say also, the Tanganyika province is divided in 6 territories. And this TCMR is being implemented in 5 territories. And now even the MONUSCO is quite happy for leaving its activities to TCMR and the provincial authorities when it comes to social cohesion, when it comes to peace building, or to promote peace, or to resolve conflict between the communities. They rely on the TCMR. And TCMR is one of the key activity in the province, which is helping the 2 communities just to live together. And now we could see the IDPs, they are starting going back in their communities. The Pygmies and the Bantus, they are now together. I think this is one of the successful activity in the area, as you have seen in that video. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jean-Pierre. That was incredible and really lovely to be able to hear about the direct programming results and how you're engaging within the community and the different types of work you're doing around income generation and cross-cultural or inter-ethnic reconciliation. And I'm just really excited that we were able to have you here and to talk a little bit more about the program. And I'm certain some of my colleagues will also have some questions for you as well as we continue forward. I'm happy to see that all of our speakers, I think, are in here, but we are going to continue with our conversation. Eric, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk a little bit more about your work on collective trauma healing and peace building in South Kivu. I think I saw Anicet was able to join. We can see if that's coming through. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Jessica. Maybe Anicet or others. Oh.
We'll see if they can join in.
Yeah.
But I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the microphone, Jessica. Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you, or members of AFP, for such a great opportunity to talk on behalf of innocent individuals who are struggling in the 4 corners of the globe, and especially for the people in our country, the DRC. And thank you so much, Jessica, for your support. We have been working together to be able to reach out here. And thank you so much, Kiangana, for your insightful exploration of the situation in the DRC, and Jean-Pierre for talking about the situation in Tanganyika province and about this CCMR program. It's fantastic to hear about this, and also to hear the voice of Mbote Pygmies, the people who are misconsidered and neglected into society. This is a very strong step toward the peace building. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for the audience for being here to listen to us, and all members of SEDECO. Yes, my name is Eric, and I don't know, many of you don't know who I am. I am a peace building activist from the Kivu, and I'm a clinical social worker trained in some of the university in Sweden. And I'm founder of SEDECO, which is a peace building organization located in Uvira. And the organization was founded when I was a teenager. I founded it with other colleagues when all of us were still very young. And 9 years after, in 2007, the organization was registered as a peace building organization. And in 2018, we were able to operate a community, a regional program that we named Movement for Humanist Actions. And this movement is a peace building program which is spread over 3 countries of the Great Lakes region, namely Congo, Burundi, or Rwanda. For all of you, I have a message, and this is the message. Peace is possible, and there is hope. despite the situation, catastrophic situation, disasters, or what is happening, we believe peace is possible. Yeah, so through this conference, I will be using you how we came up with the idea of combining trauma healing and a formal way to address peace. Let me start by exploring the three approaches that creatively SEDECO, our organization, and its program MOVHUMANA started to work with. Yeah, first of all, we use this collective trauma healing approach as we saw that there is a need of holistic approaches to address the conflict. So to be able to do that in this kind of fragile state, fragile region, where government abandon the people, abandon the citizens, as Kiangana has already said it, we said we should come out with an alternative kind of social aware system. So we should implement in local communities something that we call social centers. If I have to start by the social centers, this is what our first approach. And the second approach is mobilizing the communities using this narrative theater approach that Anicet would like to explore more. I don't know if he has access to the connection. He can write it down in the chat. Then we can leave the microphone to him that he could talk about it. And the other approach that we use is that we call the application of the social capital theory. And this social capital theory has three levels. And one level is the social bonding level. We will explain what is it. The social bridging level, we will explain what is that is, and we will also explain the social linking level. And that will be the three aspects that we wanted to talk about today on our trauma healing program to build the peace in the Greater Lakes region, or in the Kivu particularly. So I said an holistic approach where we implement a social centers. And the second is the narrative theater approach. And the third one is the social capital theory. So I don't know if Anicet is able to reach out or to talk, and he should maybe explore a bit what this narrative theater is. Yeah. Anicet, can you hear me?
Yeah. Bonjour à tous.
Oh, you can talk even in French because there is a translation mechanism. Yeah. Vous pouvez parler en français parce qu'il y a une traduction. Si vous sentez que c'est, vous pouvez le faire en français. Il y a un petit souci de connexion, Anicet.
Oh no, we can see you, but not hear you today.
So maybe I should continue. Jessica, what do you think about it? And Anicet, tu peux m'interrompre à tout moment à travers le chat, et puis je vais vous laisser le micro.
I'm so sorry for those technical difficulties, but Eric, please, and if Anicet, if you are able to share, you're welcome to
I can just give the overview, even if this was prepared by Anicet, but I know most of the content about this topic. So the narrative theater is an approach that we use to both build the peace and heal traumas, to start with. So it's a fantastic approach that we tried to use in the Greater Lakes region. And it's even why we see me and Anicet being together today, even if we come from a different background, but we are still connected as brothers, thanks to this parcours, this journey we made together with the training in this approach named narrative theater that we received from a professor from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Yvonne Sleep. And this woman trained us to use this approach named narrative theater, which combine two concepts, the theater and the narratives. With the theater, we use it with people who are not good at talking. And we use a narrative to those who are good at talking. So what do they talk about? And what do they play out? They play stories. They are stories. They are problem-based stories. They are disasters. They are atrocities. They are calamities stories. So they tell us what affect them. They tell whatever put their life in troubles. And then they also act those situations. They put all this situation into the act. And this is not only playing, it's not only telling stories, but through this process of playing stories, of talking about narrating stories, they build something that they call preferred stories and make meaning to the scenario. And when they make meaning to the scenario, they implement strong social cohesion between them. They feel offloaded of their traumas and psychological discharge. That was one approach. And I don't know if briefly Anicet would add something, because we still have, I don't know, 2 minutes remaining. But to conclude, after implementing this social narrative theater approach, we combine it with the other approach that we named the social capital theory. This social capital theory operates on 3 levels. The first level is, as I said before, the social bonding, where we try to put together individuals or small groups in the society to start restoring their trust, their confidence. And after that, these groups, we link them to one another in a community. And this kind of linking, we call it social bridging. So we bridge, we connect, we link, we network, we create a network between small groups in the community. And then at large, on the third level, we also try to, we try to connect these small groups in the community with institutions on a higher level. It might be international organization or decision makers or stakeholders or people who have power in this community to address, to strengthen social fabric and to strengthen cohesion in a particular community when we know that traumas are healed. Yeah, so in brief, this should be the overview of what we were supposed to explore together. I'm sorry on behalf of my colleagues who couldn't link up due to practical problems, but that was the idea around this topic, collective trauma healing and peace building in the Kivu. And we operate this we operate our organization through a program named MOVHUMANA, which is both a network in the Kivu and also extended to Burundi and Rwanda, where we have a very great connection between conflicting, inverted commas, so-called conflicting ethnic groups. We have created a new identity. We have created a new social identity between us, the identity of humanists in the region. So we are just humanists. We are no longer Hutu, we are no longer Tutsi, we are no longer Bantu, we are just human beings. We are humanists. We are human beings in the Great Lakes region. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Eric, thank you so much for sharing about the incredible work that your team is doing at SEDECO and how you're utilizing theater and the ability to engage across different interethnic communities, to really think about how we can apply the social capital theory, or as you're talking about social linkages, to really connect as people, not from an ethnic point of view or a linguistic point of view, but to really interconnect as individuals on this planet. So I really appreciate that. I'm sorry, Anicet, we've had some difficulties with your communication, but we're very happy that you're here even in representation. But I'm going to shift now to our final presenter, who is here with him and his wife, Rachel, Samuel. They're going to talk about their work with peace and conflict resolution, the PCR Foundation. I'm going to share my screen for them, but let me check here. Samuel, are you and Rachel able to hear us?
Yes.
Amazing. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to share your presentation, and you both are welcome to have the parole, we'll say.
Thank you. Thank you. We are happy for that. Okay. Okay, thank you. As Jessica say, I'm Samuel, and Rachel, close to me. Yeah. We are the founder of Peace and Conflict Resolution. As you hear the name Peace and Conflict Resolution, sometimes people think that is like we usually go to the workplace, or big, but the Peace and Conflict Resolution, it's a grassroots organization. We are working directly with a survivor, the survivor of trauma, survivor of war in Eastern of Congo. PCR Foundation has 4 pillars of working, but today we go to present about our topic. We have a link, like a website. It has all the detail about peace and conflict resolution. Now I hand over to Rachel to talk about our presentation for today, because we have a limit time.
Thank you so much. As you hear from Samuel, my name is Faida Rachel, co-founder of Peace and Conflict Resolution. And you have a topic that you are going to share with you today, which is under new peace building architecture for today and the future. Yeah, that is peace building and conflict prevention. Thank you so much. As Samuel said, our first pillar and the key, I need the first one, please, Jessica. Our first pillar, which is peace education, is our key activity. And PCR already organized several trainings, workshops, and events relating to peace building, such as mediation, trauma healing, social therapy, conflict resolution, among others. We focus in the community of North and South Kivu, Ituri, and Tanganyika, as is the community that was very affected in the situation of war and conflict. Our direct beneficiaries are community that is representing with the leaders that we always invite to host, to participate in our events, such as policemen, soldiers, soldiers, religions and local leaders, peace tribunal agents, lawyers, nurses, teachers, media, among others. Why are we choosing those people? It's because they are connected directly to the community, and when they have knowledge of peace education, then the community will become direct beneficiary. Thank you. Next. Next slide, please. We also introduce social therapy to the community with the objective of cure the community and rebuild new hope relationship and development. We introduced social therapy to the community that experienced mass trauma, like war and war that is passing in our country, you know all about it. We introduced the social therapy so that they can have time to come together, sharing the experience, knowing that they are not alone, that they are experiencing it, knowing it like my neighbor also is traumatized as I am, found solution together and developed themselves. Next, please. Now, after all activity of trainings and social therapy, as I said, we do follow up. In a follow up, like I said before, peace and conflict resolution already train huge number of leaders that I cited before there, in collaboration with those institutions that is there, Virgin University, Center for Nonviolence and Peace Study, Richmond Peace Education Center for, among others, you see the institution before you. And in follow-up activity, we do resolution, the conflict resolution. In conflict resolution, our main actors are people who who already participated in our trainings. The leader that I cited before, they go to the ground, sharing the information with others, sharing the information directly to the community that they live with. And I can assure you that the result is very, very, very positive. We also do an activity of training participants to train other facilitators in the ground. Like police officer can train like other 10 or 15 police officers so that the information will be extended. And we do that under supervise of PCR Foundation. Now, we also accompany the group of social therapists who was decided to develop themselves through pilot projects and to just change ideas of how they can develop themselves, how they can extend what they have as ideas. Thank you. Next, please. Now, as our new plan is that is what we have in our future plan, is to engage community resilience. Yeah, conflicts between some community, example in Ituri, expected insecurity as used is one community are competing against other to show their power by massacring innocent population from each community. In addition, population experience feelings of abandonment. Women and children are victims of GBV, gender-based on violence, as youth are armed to rule their territory. In the area, the population experienced many difficulties, such as extreme shortage of basic social services and needs, as education, water, health, among others. And this spread poverty in the community. For what Ituri and North Kivu province are facing now, PCR Foundation is planning to introduce this program there. Next, please. Yeah. This activity, this plan activity, the idea of engaging youth to be peace social cohesion actor by participating in peace is coming as youth are the main actors on trauma. We thought that youth should be main actors on peace. That will be very reasonable, because if they have idea, that is why you can see in our second line here, we introduce training for peace education, so that youth will be aware of importance of peace, knowing how is important to live together in harmony, in peace harmony. They will be aware that the community is depending to each other. We also have an idea to social infrastructure rehabilitation and provide them economic opportunity to prevent youth from being attracted to army groups, to the community so that the community will be resilient. This is, we want to introduce, to engage youth in this activity, because if they participate to rehabilitation of their area, then they will love it, because they destroyed before, because maybe they didn't know the value of that. But if they are participating on their rehabilitation, they will know the value of it, and it will not be easy to destroy it in the future. In peace building activity also, we include understand their needs, focusing on what united them rather than what separated them. We will also have activity of GBV protection, reconciliation, and truth cash for works by youth and women. That is a point that will develop a new life of the community. We will train also youth and women entrepreneurship and provide them income generating activity to become resilient and rebuild their life to prevent them to be engaged, mostly used to be engaged in armed group. Yeah, because we realize that so many youth are introducing to the army because of lacking of occupation. So they see it as an occupation. And as they can't stay in the army without doing nothing, now they start doing wrong things. And they see the community like the resources to have money. So that is why we had an idea of entrepreneurship, so that they can have occupation and how to develop themselves. Social infrastructure, particularly important markets to host the local community of both sides in order to strengthen social cohesion among community. We realize that each community have things that they have in different to other community. Other cultivate this like cassava, other cultivate like maize. And when the peace, the harmony of peace is, they can sell it to each other. Because if I need maize, you need cassava, and then we buy to each other. That will construct resilience and rebuild the cohesion of peace among them. This will be only possible if we could have support or support to to do that to the NGO that can be support us, then it will be possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. I am personally incredibly thrilled to have this opportunity to share this space with so many of you from, 4 very different organizations who I'm not even sure you all were connected before our conversations today. But thinking across what we've heard, starting with Peace Promise Consulting and reflecting on the state of the different drivers and different factors occurring within the Great Lakes region that have contributed to both conflict and I think where we're going in terms of contributing towards peace, and then really reflecting on Jean-Pierre's work and the program that they're doing in Tanganyika, and then moving into Eric's team's work on collective trauma healing. How do we engage across communities with different individuals through different mediums to try and connect? And then finishing up with Samuel and Faida Rachel to think about the work that PCR Foundation is doing to engage in the community. Particularly, I was very touched by your reflections on engaging with youth and how if you are invested in the rehabilitation of an area, it's much more difficult to destroy it, and how we can bring people along with us to engage and be engaged within their community. We only have a few short minutes remaining. We have 5 minutes. I think there were a couple questions that I saw come up in the chat. I just want to check here. I think some of them we already saw answered. I see we've shared a couple contact information. I'd certainly encourage you all to engage in the chat if you'd like to follow up and reach out with individuals. We did have a question, I think, that was asked in relation to Eric, the work that your team is doing on acting out stories and the more participatory theater approach. She asked you just to clarify is the acting out stories, this idea of making through trauma, that becomes this type of healing pathway, how we can embody peace. I didn't know if you had any additional comments you wanted to make towards that comment from Lou Hanasian.
Yeah, Anicet, do you have something? If it's possible to connect, but I can answer to this question, Anicet. Otherwise, Anicet still have some problems. Yeah, our lives are made of stories. So we live our life through stories. So when people, groups or communities are telling something, they are making meaning to their lives. So when people are trying to express what they've been through in their lives, they express the really life they have. So what we do is to shift this problem-based stories, because when a person is traumatized, the head-on is to talk about problematic side. So we try to shift these problem stories into the meaningful stories that we call preferred stories. And these preferred stories is like negotiating values in the community that people agreed to live on. And this is part of the trauma healing. It's a process in the trauma healing. And it worked seriously. It worked properly in our region. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I even wrote that down. Our lives are made of stories. That was a very gorgeous reflection. I want to open up to any of our other panelists. If you have any other final remarks, like I said, we only have just a few quick minutes here. Anything else you'd like to leave our audience with, our future audience through this recording, or anything else you'd just like to share with our last time? So I'll turn to Kiangani first. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our participants today?
Yes, I'll just say, that's one word is that, but not just one word, but let us keep reflecting on what's going on in the Great Lake regions of Africa. There are real suffering, the real people are suffering in the Great Lake region of Africa. And the world seem to forget what people are going through in the region. Sometimes we're focusing on Ukraine and we're focusing on some other part of the world, but in the Great Lake regions of Africa, there's real problems going on that people are going through on a daily basis. So, but to learn more about our work, you can go to peacepromiseconsulting.com, and you can go to Mary Mambumakaya Foundation.org as well. So therefore you will see the work we're doing and everything that we are involved in with the peace processes. Many thanks to Jessica for putting this together, and we appreciate the work you are doing to our Alliance for Peace Building. So thank you.
Very kind. Thank you. Jean-Pierre, any last words in our remaining time? I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I
Jean-Pierre.
think,
there you go.
yeah, I think I'm very, very happy to learn on what other local organizations are doing, because I know particularly Samuel and his wife, we met together in Burundi, I think, for the trauma healing training, something like that. I think I'm very, very happy, and this kind of meetings could just help focus or help organizations to really work for the promotion of peace building activities in the Great Lakes region. There is a kind of need of this kind of meetings, this kind of events that will be very, very helpful to organizations to foster social cohesion within the Great Lakes region. Thank you very much, Jessica, for organizing this event. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jean-Pierre. I really appreciate your reflections. And I'll hand it over then to Samuel and Faida Rachel for your last thoughts before we close today.
We are saying thank you for this time, Jessica. I know we already meet with you several times. And as our brother Jean-Pierre Funi said, we was together in Burundi for about more than a month. We was in training there. And we are saying thankful for bringing him together to meet him again, because it's more than even 7 years past. We didn't meet, but we meet on this. And we believe when we are together, we'll make a change. When we be togetherness, we will make a change as an organization, as people who have a heart of build peace in Eastern of Congo. We need your help, we need your support, but we need togetherness. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't have much to say again, but I'm very thankful for this opportunity and privilege to share and learn from others. Thank you, Jessica, and all your team for this opportunity. It's good to know that there is others out there that are doing the same work as you, and that give you courage to continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for joining us today to kick off our last day of PeaceCon. Wherever you may be, I hope you're able to tune into some of our other sessions. And I just want to say a grand remerciement to everyone for sharing this space with me. And definitely, while very early my time, I feel like I've already opened my mind and my heart to some amazing opportunities here. So thank you. And I wish you all a lovely day.
Thank you. You do the same.
So much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.